Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. This is our third quarterfinal match for our uh, our April Legacy League. I am Oliver V, one of your lovely mods. Below me in the box below, we have Mick Diff. Mick Diff, how you doing today?
Doing all right. Looking forward to this match. Two really, really excellent Magic players, as I think can be said about just about everybody on the Discord. To be honest, I've had very few bad games here, um, and on two really cool decks: Grixis Delver and Esper Tempo or Esper Ninjas. Sorry, I was reading the MTG Goldfish name for the deck. Uh, Evil on Esper Ninjas, and he's shown us that he's really good with this deck too. And then Discord and Andy on Grixis Delver, which Grixis is just a fun collection of colors to play with, and I fully understand why.
Absolutely. Not really the dominant Delver deck in the moment. Really seeing a lot more blue-red Delver with like splash green for a little bit of teamer action. However, Grixis Delver is still a scary, scary deck for sure. Of note, Evil is one of our players in the invitational race coming up right now. So Evil right now, at this point in the tournament or in the top 8 of bracket, there is another player as well, Champagne. These two players are neck and neck in the invitational point race. And so really what these games are coming down for them is all about who can solidify their seed. So if Evil can win a couple more matches, Evil's going to go ahead and lock up his spot as the third place seed for the event at the end of this month. However, if Champagne can really go all the way, Champagne's going to be able to take it down. So that's kind of one of the hidden storylines that we're going to be looking at while we go through this top 8.
Can I just say that I am absolutely in love with the fact that Discord and Andy uses a hymn to Torok to tell us how many cards are in his hand. And that is something that I potentially may be stealing because that is amazing.
It is a great card to use specifically for that. But thank you for pointing that out for everyone who's watching from home, of course. Uh, of note, I believe both players are keeping 7. Evil being the second seed for all of the players who got into the top 16 for this league final bracket. He is actually going to automatically be on the play against Discord and Andy, who came in as the 7th seed overall. Unfortunately, we do not record all the top 16 matches. We actually skip around before we start recording the top 8, the semifinals, and the actual final match itself. So we're unable to see these players play in their round of 16. Evil used Esper Ninjas to take down Punishing Stompy, of all things, piloted by MTG Nerd, and Discord and Andy took down Prowins on Bug Nickfit.
Bug Nickfit. That sounds like fun.
We have a couple of people in the Discord who would have been very, very happy to see that. But you know what? We get to see two absolutely excellent pilots battle it out for this quarterfinal match.
And Evil showing us exactly how many cards coming off of that ponder there.
That's one of the big things that we keep talking about. This literally the last quarterfinal match. Mike and I were talking about the exact same thing about how fantastic it is to see these players being really, really specific in how they're utilizing their cantrips. That's kind of one of the downsides of us playing paper play online. Is you really do need to be explicit of these 3 cards are coming out for the ponder. These 2 cards are going back for the brainstorm, just to make sure there's no manipulation that's going on as players are actively touching their library so much.
Yeah, I think the one huge piece of solace that can be had is knowing that there's no real stakes here. It's pride. So the cheating tends to not happen anyway.
The pride is pretty big though. Let's be totally honest. Can we real quick talk about how cool Evil's deck list is? Evil's kind of taken this deck from another one of our notable players in the invitational grind, Quirios, who kind of brewed this Esper version of ninjas, really going for a main board to fairy, I believe 2 of them, and then some sideboard white cards such as Source of Plowshares and Akaya as well. And Evil's really just been taking it and running with it, where for the majority of the invitational season, he was kind of jumping around on certain things, played a lot of Entombs Day for a while, and is now really solidified in on loving this ninja build, which is pretty fantastic to see.
We are seeing a ninjutsu here
Looks
from
like
Evil.
looks like there was an attack there, but Evil just neglected to tap the Ornithopter, of course. You can only ninjutsu in creatures that are attacked and not blocked. But this is scary to see on Discord and Andy's side. You really do want to be removing this ninja right away before it deals combat damage to you and Evil starts to acquire card advantage.
We are going to see a bolt there and a daze in response.
Ooh, perfect. Let's see if there's a daze back or a force back. But no, looks like we're not fighting over it, and Evil's going to get up 1 card.
And that is huge in this matchup, right? Because card advantage is going to be everything. And it is pretty difficult for Delver to out card advantage ninjas once the engine's online.
Oh, especially in the late game, right? I think
Yeah.
Grixis is a little bit better set up to be able to grind with ninjas in the late game as compared to kind of the blue-red versions of Delver. I cannot tell you how many times just been watching Esper really eat alive. I'm sorry, ninjas really eat alive blue-red Delver in the late game.
We
But
are
it
gonna
does
see
seem like,
another bolt here,
I
which
mean, seems right.
yeah, you gotta get that off the board, especially if you're not gonna present your own threat.
And it is down. We are not fighting over it.
I wonder
It-
if, Evil has another ninja in hand.
I mean, that would be amazing. There's 6 left in the deck, of course, right? I believe there's 3 Eurekos in this build. Oh, no, just 2 Eurekos in this build. So there are only 5 left in the deck. It would be amazing to see an additional one. However, it does look like Discord and Andy is holding up more interaction.
We
Swinging
are
with the
gonna see
Ornithopter.
Swing the Ornithopter, yeah.
Is this a bluff? Or are we going to actually see it come down? Players talking at the moment.
It
In
was a
chat.
bluff. I mean, I don't dislike that, right? If you've got give Discord and Andy a chance to make the mistake of fatal pushing the the Ornithopter before or during blocks.
So one of the great things that is always fun to talk about with this is normally the ninjas build is incredibly resilient to wasteland, right? You're able to just run on basics incredibly well. So these 4 wasteland decks are using to optimize wasteland in conjunction with days to really hit you hard on the tempo plan. It doesn't work that well against traditional blue black ninjas. However, this Esper version is actually doubling the amount of duels, right? It's going up from 2 underground seas to including 1 tundra and 1 scrubland. So all of a sudden, the wastelands do become a little bit more of a viable game plan, right? There's a little bit more use in the matchup. However,
And
Evil just showing us this start that doesn't really matter, right? Like, go ahead, have this wasteland. That is a colorless land, and that is it right now.
even like a large number of the just the Demir ninjas or blue black ninjas mana bases have only been having one underground sea in them recently and
Oh,
just increased
really?
the number of swamps. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I am big on the basics only mana base. We are
Um
seeing a March Flats come down for Evil.
yeah, I was playing against our very own Beyond Sadistic the other day and I don't think I played a underground sea at all. I just fetched up all my basics.
Well, that is always a fun thing to get to hear about. I love me those basic mana bases. Show off the pretty cards. Who wants to see an underground sea? Um,
I don't know. Discord and Andy's signed underground sea is looking pretty good to me right now.
That is very true. Ooh, we're seeing a petty theft brazen bar. We're coming down. Looks like we're bouncing the changeling outcast. One of the hidden best cards in the ninjas list, right? Is this changeling outcast? You can turn it into a 4/4 really easily with retrofitter foundry, and it's a ninja to be able to get additional triggers off all of your payoff ninjas, the infiltrator and the Eureka.
And now that there is a brazen borrower in exile, that can profitably block the ornithopter.
Oh, that's so
So
true.
so
It can actually
bouncing
block.
bouncing the unblockable creature makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, are you here's the real thing. Can you attack in if you're evil? Even if you have the ninja, you have to have some form of interaction as well, right? Whether it's your
Yeah.
own like fatal push off of a fetch land or whether it's your other days. Because this Ornithopter, you're right, was just gonna get eaten alive. I'm so used to playing decks that Brazen Borrower literally can't block anything that I forget that that's actually a function of the card at times.
Yeah. um Brazen Borrower, not to mention incredibly fun card in ninjas. Being able to bounce your Brazen Borrower and reuse the petty theft, that's some tech.
And let's see, we're gonna go ahead and attack in.
We are going to see a cast of the Brazen Borrower. Hard cast days.
So this
Tapping
means
both islands to me signals that there may be another days in hand.
either that or there's a Fatal Push or a Thoughtseize. Or
Hmm.
no, the Outcast. We knew about the Outcast. Never mind.
We did know about the outcast. But as opposed to
Ooh.
I mean, as opposed to, just bouncing one of them when there's a land drop that still can be made.
The one of Plague Engineer coming down after the daze has already been taxed out. There are no more dazes in Evil's list. It has to be a
There
fourth to
aren't,
prevent
okay.
this from coming in. There's only 2 dazes in his list, I do believe. What this
Yeah.
means is that's a force negation he's trying to pitch?
He's pitching Force of Negation to Force
Ah,
of
okay.
Will.
There we go. Takes the damage. Ooh, that was going to be quite good against this
Yeah.
this changeling outcast and every potential ninja that comes down afterwards. Yeah, your Yuriko, it doesn't deal any combat damage anymore.
The
It is
biggest,
turned off.
uh the biggest test to me is whether you name Ninja or Servo, because the Retrofitter Foundry, I think in this matchup, could also just be an unbelievable blowout card.
That is very true, actually.
So if I'm Discord and Andy, I don't even think I'm naming Ninja there. I think I'm naming Servo.
Well, your only way of interacting with the Retrofitter Foundry once it is on the table is the other Raisin Borrower that's in the deck. You have one more. But besides that, a resolved one is just a never ending game of producing 4/4s. You can, in theory, interact with that and get around it with a True Name Nemesis plan or maybe a Gurmag Angler. But it definitely would be quite a bit harder. That's really heads up observation there, Mike.
So we're gonna
Oh,
see a Teferi Time Raveler from Evil. It is going to resolve, and we're gonna tick up. No, it starts on 5. No, it starts on 4.
it starts on 4.
We're gonna
Going
tick
down to
down.
just draw. All right. I like that. We've seen 2 bolts already, and of course, we haven't mentioned this quite yet, but these players are going into this game with knowledge of the opponent's deck list. This is an open deck list event. They cannot consult the opponent's deck list while the game's actually going on, but they can consult it beforehand and during sideboarding between the individual games. So the third bolt comes out to punish the Teferi decision. Wow. Of course, Evil
Which
making that decision because he knows for a fact that there's only 4 bolts. There's no forked bolts in the list or anything else that could punish it. It needed to be one of the last 2 bolts in the deck.
and we see a Gurmy boy.
That's a real big fish, as they say. Delving everything away except for a bolt.
Um, I actually don't mind the Teferi play there, even if it does get punished, because taking out the making Discord and Andy deal with the Teferi means that they're not dealing with the Ornithopter or the Changeling Outcast or a ninja that comes down this turn.
That's true. It was still a 2 for 1, right? You're netting a draw, so it's already free, and you're also taxing the opponent's lightning bolt as well. However, at the same time, having that active Teferi to be able to bounce his Gurmag back right now would be pretty fantastic.
Absolutely.
See this brainstorm resolving at the moment.
There
Hmm.
is still another Teferi in the list, and really no deck draws cards better than, well, aside from maybe elves or
Or
high
co
tide.
or a lot of combo decks, you know?
Yeah,
No,
all right, fine. No somewhat fair deck draws cards better than ninjas.
assuming we can get to one of the other 5 ninja payoffs, right? We're looking for the 3 additional ingenious infiltrators or the 2 Eurikos that are in the list. I am fascinated to see it moving down from 3 to 2 Eurikos. I can understand that's kind of the worst ninja out of all of them, but man, it feels real good to flip some Force of Wills off the top and just burn out your opponent.
If you're expecting a lot of Caracas to be present, then going down to 2 Yurikos makes sense. Um, I was playing ninjas the other day, and in response to the Caracas trigger, ninjutsu'd in a Yuriko, uh, which was a lot of fun.
That's pretty
That's a good
fantastic.
time.
And we are swinging in with that real big fish, going down to 10, or I'm sorry, 9 as a result. Perfect. Our Scream Tech also should be noted. These matches are not being done live as we are commentating them on. They were actually recorded previously about a week ago. We've been recording all the top 8 matches and did the same for the semis and the finals. And we are now just going back and recording it. So at the time, we did have a Stream Tech there who was going ahead recording matches, keeping up with life totals. If something like a meddling mage happens to come down it for in other matchups, go ahead and put it there so we know what it is. But our Stream Tech just correcting a little bit of the life totals that were happening at the moment. And we see Evil tanking here. Just 2 cards in hand. This is a hard situation. We really do need to be able to start dealing with this real big fish. Of course, the only real answers that you have, your fatal pushes cannot deal with that. So ironically enough, the Drown and the Locks are going to need to wait for a good amount of time before they're able to hit the Gurmag Angler. Gurmag Angler has great play around the Drown and the Locks, but the only way to deal with it is the other Teferi at this point. All the Swords to Plowshares are in the sideboard. Um, this is going to be quite difficult to get around this Gurmag.
There are two um, baleful Strix in the deck,
Oh, that's very
so
true. That
being
is
able
very
to
true.
land a Strix,
A Strix and then avoid your opponent going ahead and
having
getting
a
the last lightning bolt or one of the 2 fatal pushes, right? That's
yeah.
kind of the one way that it could go poorly. Or I suppose also the last petty theft is also a way that that baleful Strix isn't quite able to convert at the last moment. But we're gonna have to see the way that this goes. This ponder keeping things on top. As a collector of signed cards, I am quite jealous of these underground seas. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I own 2 signed cards, and they don't make any sense which ones I own. So
That's right. They just damaged. I'm joking, of course. Retrofitter Foundry. Okay.
now this is the card I was just talking about, right? This is where evil can really pull ahead.
Well, Evil right now, because we have 3 mana up, Evil can make 2/4/4s. So tapped, create sack the Changeling or sack the Ornithopter to make a 4/4, 3 mana to untap it, and then go ahead and make an additional one right away.
So other uh if evil had not attacked there, say, could have turned the changeling outcast into a thopter because it's also a servo, untapped blocked the Gurmag angler, untapped the retrofitter foundry, and in response before damage turned it into a construct, right? Get multiple blocks out of it there.
Oh, that's an
Um,
interesting thought.
so it does the changeling outcast in that sense is a really good way to get multiple blocking creatures out of the retrofitter foundry.
Of note, of course, Discord and Andy does actually have 4 stifles on the list that we haven't seen yet. That is a way to kind of interact with the Thopter math or the Foundry math, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, I suppose for the sake of it, because the numbers are a little bit of confusing ones at times. Um, where is it in this list? Oh, there it is. The Retrofitter Foundry is 3 to untap, 2 and tap to create a 1/1 servo, 1 and tap to sacrifice a servo and make the Thopter, and then just tap no mana cost at all to sacrifice a Thopter and turn into a 4/4 construct. And Fatal Push on the token. I imagine at least this is going to be on the token.
Yeah. Fatal pushing the uh changeling outcast. Just taking the one and we may have missed a fetch there.
Potentially, yeah. It looks like we got that all corrected.
3 cards in hand for evil. Looks like we may just be passing the turn.
This is difficult because we're going to swing in with the fish. Go to I there's the potential of just okay, that
Okay.
changes things. All of a sudden you're able to the your amount to actually just ramp up production gets really fantastic when you have 2 retrofitter foundries. So all of a sudden you can make a servo block, turn it into a thopter on the subsequent turn, attack with your 1/1s, make 2 4/4s. Oh, this is going to this. I think that we might be able to see Evil claw his way back into this, swinging with the real big fish.
Notably, we did just get a little bit of a flash of Discord in Andy's hand there and saw that there is the other Brazen Borrower in hand.
Oh, that's huge.
That's the one thing with
Oh,
the
this is it.
webcam magic.
So now at this point, you can bounce the servo, force Evil to uh, turn the changeling outcast into the 4/4, which then has to go underneath the Gurmag Angler.
So notably with that second retrofitter foundry though, you don't want to try and block the or you don't want to try and bounce the servo because in response can just turn it into a Thopter.
Oh, that's very true because we do have the one available still. Oh, but this is one of the downsides of us not having a table spot or writing everything down. We're not sure if there was a block declared right before the sacrifice. I
I
imagine that there
imagine.
was. Yeah.
3 mana. No mana. 3 mana.
Is his true name? Yeah, that's a true
Yeah.
name coming down.
That's
That gets a lot harder. You need a force right here at this moment. Doesn't have it. So that is representing a 2-turn clock. And now the onus is on Evil to end this game as soon as possible. Evil does not have any way to actually deal with that true name. There's no way to gain life either. So the only way that this is going to work is by winning within the next 2 turns that Evil has.
which it's certainly not impossible for evil to win right now, right? Uh Changeling Outcast Thopter attack ninjutsu in a Yuriko on the Thopter and flip 2 Force of Wills. That's 12 damage.
That's very true.
But the the odds of that happening are incredibly slim, obviously.
Yeah, this true name is just incredibly impressive. We will, I imagine, be seeing Plague Engineers come in on Evil side going into these post board games just because of the threat of true name in the long game, and that's really your your only way to deal with it. Yeah, quite interesting. Long gone are the days of people playing Golgari Charm in their sideboard as the way to deal with true names. Now you can just play Plague Engineer, which is a far better card.
Yeah, Plague Engineer is really great magic card.
Turns out. I'm amazed that you as an Elves player are willing to admit that there, Mike.
I also am a mono black player though, and there are decidedly 4 main deck Plague Engineers in my mono black list.
You truly are a tale of two houses, if you know what I mean. Let's see kind of
Hey,
brainstorm solving.
give me an 8 rack. Give me a rack and I'm good to go.
All right, sounds good. Or give you a Gaia's Cradle and you're equally good to go. Let's see what happens here. I imagine Discord and Andy is only going to be swinging with the true name. No reason to attack into to attack in with the Gurmag. The Gurmag being held back is able to stop a 4/4. But oh, we're attacking in. So 2/1, no untap. 1 mana still up. So you can block and just make another Thopter. There's no
Yeah, you
ability to
can
produce a 4/4. And
uh
well,
no,
actually,
there's
that's not true.
you can block so you can tap the retrofitter foundry and 1 mana to turn the changeling outcast into a Thopter and then untap the retrofitter foundry and turn it into a construct.
Why wouldn't you just do? You could
You
also
could
just pay two
you
to
could
make a
also just
servo block, and then tap, not pay anything to turn the Thopter that you have that's active
yeah,
into a 4/4 as well, right? And then you have the changeling outcast still. Make a Thopter blocks. It looks like.
yeah, make a
And really,
servo
Stifle
and
would have been amazing at a lot of these points when we're doing this retrofit or foundry math. Just being able to turn off one of these activations and make you have to try again.
we'll see if Discord and Andy has that last bolt
Flash
in
bolt.
hand or
That would be amazing. The petty theft coming out. I wonder what this is targeting. I'll have to see. Evil tanking at the moment. Again, this being one of those great moments where us having a table spotter would be ideal to know exactly what's being targeted, but we'll have to
I
figure this
do
out as everything's resolving.
I do like the turning oh, yep, bouncing that, which I like just letting it happen as opposed to,
There it is. There's the stifle. There we go.
yeah, alright, so we're gonna
Fantastic.
pick them up.
Well, that was a really fantastic game, I do have to say.
Uh, Both Evil and Discord and Andy playing that one really tightly.
Yeah, the sequencing from both players was quite impressive. Discord and Andy being really patient with both that stifle and that petty theft.
So
Um,
let's talk about sideboards. Evil on Esper Ninjas has honestly, to me, one of the best looking sideboards in, ninjas in general can really put together one of the best looking sideboards I think out there. We're seeing one pithing needle, three surgical extraction, two swords to plowshares, three thoughtseize, a disenchant, a Kaya Orzhov usurper, a Liliana the Last Hope, a Narset Parter of Veils, and two plague engineer.
So for me, when I'm looking at this, I'm immediately wanting to Plague Engineers because I know about the True Name Nemesis threat. Again, this is open deck list, so he is aware that Andy has the two True Name Nemesis that has to be dealt with. At the same time, I like Narset to a certain extent if we're going into a long game, being able to basically turn off the functionality of all of the cantrips. Not amazing, but at the same time, if you can one for one get another good spell out of it, and by down ticking it, and then also require it to be dealt with before their cantrips are being able to turn on, that seems quite good. And of course, Source of Plowshares also. The threat of the Gourmet Angler and you having no other way to deal with it is really massive, right? You need the Teferi bounce in the current configuration that's main board. But I
I
have to ask you,
also
you are the ninjas player, but out of the two of us as well. What do you like out of this sideboard?
So in this matchup specifically, I really like Kaya for punishing that Gurmag Angler. Okay,
Oh,
you cast the Gurmag Angler, that's going to cost you 5 life.
that's interesting. If you can get up to the Kaya shotgun, that
Yeah.
ultimate ability, you mean? What about Liliana the Last Hope for just like grinding, being able to recur threats? So none of your things are getting exiled. So you're
Liliana
able
the
to do that
Last Hope
downtick.
is an amazing magic card when it works. And most of Discord and Andy's threats are die to it,
That's very
with the
true.
exception of True Name and Gurmag Angler.
And Plague Engineer, I suppose. But yeah, Young Pyromancer, Delver before it flips, Brazen Borrower. Yeah, I actually like that a lot more now that we're talking about it. I can definitely imagine that coming in. So let me
And I
ask you
think
about.
if you get a
Yeah.
Liliana emblem, sorry,
No, you're
I,
all
I
good.
I think if you get a Liliana emblem in this matchup, that's just a scoop them up from Discord and Andy.
Oh, absolutely. That just wins the game unless you can kill the the player who ulted in literally the next 2 or 3 turns.
And
Um,
stick 2 plague engineers with no interaction from evil.
that's true. That is a potential line too. Let's talk about Andy's sideboard. Andy has one engineered explosive, one Graph Digger's Cage, one Nile Spellbomb, two red elemental blasts, two surgical extractions, a full four thought seizes, two abrades, and two plague engineers. What are you liking from this configuration?
Plague engineer, um, I like the abrades
For sure.
and I like the red blasts. Um, I think being able to just deal with one of the ninjas after it's down. You don't want to deal with it during combat for obvious reasons because you can just ninjutsu in response to, dealing dealing with the ninja. But being able to clean up the ninjas because they're all blue, and then or similar for the abrade. Not to mention the abrade deals with the retrofitter foundry, which I think is going to be the biggest issue for Discord and Andy, as we saw there.
I
Like,
absolutely agree. One of the common threat are the common threads that's been coming up in a lot of the discussions about ninjas from a lot of the ninjas players on our Discord is just how good of a card of braid is in the matchup. That kind of is the best removal spell just because it hits both plans. Ninjas is this deck, right, that has these two really distinct different plans that kind of touch on each other. And the difficult part when you're approaching it is if you have a plan that can deal with the retrofitter foundry plan, uh, you will just get blown out at times by the card advantage engine of the ninjas hitting in. And if you're just ready for the ninjas, you just have removal spells like I have a swords, I have a bolt, I have this, and they're just going to play a retrofitter foundry and grind you out into the long game, right? Where a braid is one of those really few cards that's able to interact with both of those distinct plans.
yeah, a braid is able to clean up any creature that the deck is able to produce.
Yeah, that is very true.
From a 4/4 construct to an O2 Baleful Strix or a 1/1 Changeling Outcast. A braid can deal with all of them, so I really like a braid here.
Absolutely. Well, looking like Evil has taken a mull to 6, and Evil, of course, being on the play. And I do believe Discord and Andy did keep a 7 here. Seeing a fetch with Polluted Delta, I imagine we're getting a basic here before the Ponder. Just can't really afford to be turning on those wastelands for the most part. It really is
Yeah,
dependent on Evil's hand, of course, but yeah, getting the island.
you want to force Grixis Delver to sit with as many dead cards in hand for as long as possible.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to see this Ponder resolving. Evil again being really explicit with the cards that are coming off. Really, what we want to see when we see our players utilizing the cantrip cartel.
So if you're evil here, you really just want to get off to that explosive start that ninjas can do in this matchup. So I'm thinking you're looking for an ornithopter to be able to chain into a ninja as early as next turn. And there we see the ornithopter. I think that is kind of one of the better starts that we can see.
Either that or a retrofitter foundry, right? Where if you're able to turn to a retrofitter foundry to be able to make it resolve through a daze, forcing a force of will out of Andy,
Yeah,
we'll have to see the way this goes. Discord and Andy holding up the tropical island, not going to use any cantrips themselves. I also like this if Discord and Andy is planning on interacting with Evil on Evil's turn. Where if Evil slams a retrofitter foundry here, Discord and Andy can force it without having to worry about having the days be the blowout there, right?
evil with those beautiful, beautiful foreign black border duels
They're
that he
gorgeous.
has reminded me that he's never paid more than 40 euros for a duel.
Evil, a long time legacy player, of course.
Yeah, you're not finding those prices now.
Oh, absolutely.
So we are going to see an attack out of the Ornithopter here.
Uh, if you have the ninja, you have to use it. More
Okay.
blocks. We're seeing bolt. Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
really like
passing the
this
turn.
plan. I'm a big fan of trying to hit the enablers more than I actually hit the ninjas after they come in. Um,
Yeah.
so I really enjoy this bolt the ornithopter plan, and we are seeing Delver.
Ooh.
Well, threats have been established. Let's see if we can flip those right away. Seeing a main phase brainstorm coming on to evil here. And this is a scary position to be for sure. Your
Yeah.
interaction actually will be able to deal with these, right? This isn't the issue with the Gurmag Angler where your fatal pushes can't line up whatsoever. Uh, but it being a double delver does make you wonder whether or not you're going to actually be able to race it or if you need to find the interaction pieces.
Yeah, I think um I'll be interested to see if we get the blind flip. So that was an end of turn brainstorm
Oh,
actually.
that's so right.
Um
Oh, yeah, you're right. We did not tap down for some reason. I thought we had tapped 2 mana on the previous turn, but no, that was an end of turn one. You're so right.
and I wonder, so if you're evil here, you've got to be looking for either interaction or another enabler. And getting the scrub land there makes me wonder if evil found a oh, are we gonna see a Teferi?
Are we seeing a cot? Or are we seeing the oh?
Plague Engineer
Show us the days, Discordant.
naming, I'm assuming wizard.
That would be correct here, right? Or no, you name human because of the young pyromancers.
So I don't know if evil knows about the young pyromancers.
So it's open deck list, so he should be
Oh,
aware
it
of these,
was.
right?
Okay, okay. I forgot about that.
And it resolves. No force to check it, no days to check it. It is just coming down. That is fantastic for you. That is exactly what we want to be seeing. Of course, this does mean that there's only one plague engineer for the future true name nemesis that will be coming down, but it's hard not to take that free 2 for 1. And in
Just
a
gonna
braid.
abrade that, yeah.
I mean, that feels really good. That
And
was a
play out a
3 for 1.
third Delver.
All right, yeah.
Just I mean, I think that it really makes sense being in a spot with these two decks want to just be able to present as many threats as possible. Um, Changeling Outcast.
Which is better, a Changeling Outcast or a Delver?
Um, I think if you were to put the Changeling Outcast into the Delver deck, it would be awful, and if you were to put the Delver into the uh,
That's a blind flip.
if you were to put the Delver into the Ninjas deck, it wouldn't be great. So I think it is so unbelievably. Oh, and we are
Oh,
seeing. Do you just put this on Bird here?
I'd put this on Bird because
Yeah,
I wanna start swinging with the 3/2 and that Baleful Strike. I just wanna keep the Insectile Aberration alive. That was fantastic. Also, really interesting to see that Andy brought in the Thoughtseizes as well. I was not expecting that for this matchup.
yeah, that is. I suppose it makes sense to take the good cards out of Evil's hand before he gets to, uh, as opposed to dealing with them on the stack or on the field.
It depends. If Andy ascribes to the same school of thought as I do of not liking Force of Wills at all in these kind of grindy matchups, I can see definitely having the space if if you're also going down on dazes. And stifles are a real potential as well. Was not amazing in this matchup, right? You
Yeah.
can stifle a ninjutsu trigger, which is pretty fantastic, and you can stifle things with the retrofitter foundries and of course the fetch lands. But I wouldn't be surprised to see if stifles went down as well. So I do imagine that we hit a really high critical mass of cards that came out if we were bringing in the thought seizes as well. Because again, we identified 6 cards before the thought seizes that we wanted to be getting in, right? The 2 plague engineers, the 2 abrades,
Oh,
the 2 red elemental blasts, but ooh,
that
wizard
was
from
a
damage coming in.
brutal turn from for Evil there.
Yeah.
We saw Thoughtseize taking away the Yuriko, a Braid killing the uh Infiltrator, and Wasteland taking out the Scrubland. Uh really just taking Evil's resources away.
Really displaying how great that bolt on the Ornithopter was earlier, right? Where if you had saved it and you had spent it on the Eureka or the Infiltrator that was coming in, the Ornithopter is just as played again, and the other one is able to come in at that cheap cost as well. But instead, by bolting the Enabler, was able to really stymie Evil's plan and prevent Evil from being able to present the attacking ninjas quickly.
What do you think that Plague Engineer named?
Um, mm, a human, I still think. Make the Delver be swinging for 1 less point of damage.
The Delver is the Devil still a human? I thought it was
It's a
a.
human insect now.
Okay, so it's not a human
Yeah,
wizard.
it
Okay.
loses the wizard text when it flips over. It keeps the human. It's
Okay.
confusing. But at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
then well, that's both plague engineers, unfortunately, from Evil's
Yeah.
deck. Neither of them were able to name Rogue or Merfolk in the way that the things had lined up. So unfortunately, this true name Nemesis is going to be crushing across for lethal. There is no other way to deal with it, unfortunately.
And there is I don't think any way in Evil's deck to really come back from this.
Kaya can gain life. So
True.
there's that. But besides that, it's looking quite unlikely at the moment. And yeah, it looks like that plague engineer was naming bird. I do imagine the other one was naming human. Oh, it did, right? He was at 4 and got knocked to 2, so it had to have been that or insect. So I guess it was one of those two at the very least. Discord and Andy, though, really showing really great threat assessment, first of all, with bolting the Ornithopter and kind of trying to stymie the proactivity of ninjas, but then also just able to produce threat after threat after threat. It's been quite impressive, just pressuring down evil.
Yeah, trimming on the counter spells and increasing the threat count is I think increasing the threat count and onboard interaction is really where you want to be in the um, matchup with ninjas. We're seeing draw for turn from evil, making Andy sweat a little bit. Brainstorm.
Let's take as many game actions as we can before the end.
Uh, unless evil can find a removal spell and a uh, Kaya and a land.
Okay, Brainstorm can do that. That is 3
Uh,
cards. Brainstorm can find all those.
Unfortunately, he won't end up with all of them in his hand because he only had 1 to
Oh,
start
no,
the
never mind that. Oh my goodness.
um, right, because need a removal spell for the, Delver, need a land for being able to cast the removal spell and cast Kaya.
And
Mhm.
going out the gentleman's way, fetching down. Oh, what a fan! Evil taking out his patented squishy that he always has to present for the camera at a certain point in every match. Really fantastic run by Evil, taking down his pool, getting up through the round of 16 to get up to this quarterfinals match. Evil was actually able to take one more point for the invitational race through winning that round of 16. However, losing this match right here does present an opportunity for Champagne, who's one of our last quarterfinal matches. If Champagne can win out from here, I believe, after winning his round of 16, of course, he will be able to leapfrog Evil in invitational points and secure the third seed. Um, 2 wins likely will not do it because Evil has better breakers in terms of match win percentage. And winning 2 from this point forward is just going to get him to tie out. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Kind of this underlying story going on while we go through this top 8. Mike, you got anything to say before we head out and we head over to the next match?
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Go ahead and join our Discord if you want to get in on the MTG Paper Legacy action. And as always, let us be your local meta.